Absolutely. I will talk about anything. Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Truth Be Told, where
Totally.
honestly, it's in the name.
What's going on, people?
B.
Welcome back to Truth Be Told. It's your boy Sean Spencer, and you see who I'm with. You see who I'm with. My guy from the Windy City, Mr.
Who's-
Nicholas. I want the smoke. Rosario. What up, Nick?
Good evening, Mr. Spencer. And yes, Windy City for sure. We had some wind today blowing the rain around, so that was kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
I tried to go outside with the nieces. I had to pull them back in after about 20 minutes because the rain came. So we tried. But yes, Windy City, for sure, my friend. Rainy day in Chicago today.
Speaking of the Windy City, do you know the history behind why it was called the Windy City?
Well, as a Chicagoan, I probably should have. They'll take away my Chicago card, right?
Well, I don't know how accurate this is, but I was always told it was because of the
stockyards, right?
Oh, is that okay? Then that might be more accurate than what I was told. I was always told because all the politicians just gassed everybody up.
Yeah, I've heard that story as well, and I don't know what's the official, but yeah, I've heard a few different things of why we're called the Windy City. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Or City of Big Shoulders, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. That's Chicago, but yeah, it's like there's a lot of stories about Windy City. Yeah, exactly. Well, Al Capone is what we're known for, so whatever.
Yeah, criminals.
Right, straight gambling and corruption. That's what we're known for, buddy.
Wow.
It's true. It's true though.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Truth Be Told. Unless you are living under a rock.
Yes.
It's election day, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're anything like me, then you've been following this thing not just today, not just this week, not just this year, but since the last election we had 4 years ago that unfortunately some people still dispute, but we are back. We are here with the election. Nick, there's few things that I love on the level of football. Okay. But one of them is the election. One of them is the voting process, being able to get out and vote, seeing how all the counties and states, all that stuff break down, seeing the fact that everybody comes together for whichever candidate just to come together to put out their opinion, their voice to vote. I love it, man. What is your thoughts and connection to voting day? How you feeling?
Yeah, no, I've been voting since the age of 19. That was the very first election, 1992. Presidential election is the very first one I voted in. I was old enough at that point. And I voted in, all the presidential elections since then. I mean, it's part, to me, it's, it represents, it's a right and a privilege. I live in, the United States of America, and I have the free will to go ahead and I'm a registered voter, have been, like I said, since 92. But I feel it's my right and my privilege to do that. And so I participate in that. And yeah, I think, it can be a tricky thing because, again, obviously there is always people telling you, hey, you should vote for this, you should do for that, you should. And I always say this, and really, this is it's pretty simple. You're going to vote for who you think is going to do whatever you think is best for you. Like, that's how most people go. Some people go with issues, some people go with policy, some people go with economy. Like, there's all different things and all different reasons why people vote for whoever they vote for. And so, I encourage that. Like, do your research, do your homework, whatever you feel appeals to you or is going to affect you. And that's how you should do it. I mean, I would never tell anybody who to vote for, what you should do. I don't do any of that. Like, it's a decision you have to make for yourself. And again, however you choose to make that decision, at least you're participating in the process, which I feel is
almost like it's your own personal connections. What it is for you. And
exactly.
Unfortunately, to your point, I do feel a lot of people go in a direction because either they're told to, or it's because of what my family did, or it's because, I believe this, and I'm in here with it, like I'm in bed with this, so I'm gonna continue to do that type of deal. And I
Yeah.
think you hit something the nail on the head where you were saying, we need more education in that. We need for people to not only understand the candidates and not just what they're saying, but also the process. Also, let's understand how these counties and areas vote, how their vote and how that impacts that area and the overall. How voting for the president is key. It's definitely big to do that, but if you cannot overlook voting for the Congress, you can't overlook voting for the
Yeah.
mayor, the governor, the different state, this and all these
Yeah,
different things.
your senators and all that stuff. Absolutely. Congressmen,
Right.
representatives. You got so many, yeah, so many things to vote for and to kind of, or, yeah. So you really do kind of, have an idea. Like you said, even in Chicago, we have what are called aldermen. The city is split up into 50 wards, as they call
Yeah.
them. Here in Chicago, I know some places it might be a little different, but we have 50 wards. So that means 50 aldermen here in the city of Chicago. So every what is it, some 2 4 years, whatever it is, we're voting for new aldermen. So it's like, yeah, whatever ward you're in, you go ahead and vote for that person. So yeah, so I mean, there's plenty of people that are always on a ballot, and there's always things to kind of be aware of, and so yeah, again, starting in that small, starting at the local level sometimes gets you into, oh, okay, this person is affiliated with this, or they believe in this, and so then, okay, well, who does that person support for president? Maybe, oh, let me see what they're about. Let me see this. So, yeah, I mean, it really does start kind of at the small local level, and it grows into national elections, which is what we have today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then that's what I advocate. We need to definitely teach more in school and in the universities, and just it needs to be more of a conversation as opposed to just being something we talk about for a couple months in election year. You know what I
Right.
mean? We need
Yeah.
more of this because I know coming out of high school, for me, the first election I paid attention to, incidentally, was the first election that you voted in, with
Yeah.
the one
92.
with Clinton and
Yeah.
Bush and Ross Perot
Ross
coming in.
Perot,
Oh yeah,
my guy
watch
Ross
watch
Perot,
that thing
still
today.
one of the best debates ever. I feel was the first one they did because Ross was just, yeah, I'm not going to win. I'm an independent, but I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into your guys' plans, and I'm just going to
Oh yeah,
mess with both of you. And believe me, if you ever get a chance, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch the first debate from that '92 election. It's great.
oh yeah, oh yeah. But and the funny thing about Ross is he brought in big money,
Yeah,
self-made guy. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And he
yeah.
did throw a wrench essentially in there because I think at the end of the day, I think he got 18% of the vote at the
He got
very end.
more than people thought he would. Exactly. Like he
Yeah.
totally kind of yeah. You could. Some people say he kind of helped Clinton win, but Clinton was very over at that point, and the whole thing. I think a lot, people popular thing at that point, like I said, being that that was the election I paid attention to because it was my first one. Clinton was on Arsenio Hall playing the saxophone, like all this
Exactly.
stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he became like the pop culture president. And
Yeah.
of course, we all know what happened later on, so that's a whole different story. But yeah, at that
He's a
time,
man of
Bill
the
was,
people.
yeah, he ran into some issues, but hey, what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. But
that's
look,
another story for another time, right?
come on now. Come on. Hey, but hey, no president is immune to doing this and that. So let's not act like these presidents
No,
are
no, no,
holier
no.
than
I
that. You
certainly
know?
not, my friend. Certainly not. They're human too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we need to
Like,
remember that. But look, let's go ahead and do it. Let's talk about it, man. First and foremost, did you get out and vote? I'm gonna ask you first. Did you vote?
yes, I did. I was out yesterday. I had a free day. I had a whole day to myself.
Hmm.
And so in between my my trips to the grocery store, I did get in my early voting. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Same here. I early voted myself. Shout out to Vanny Chris. I did my civic duty today and voted. I cannot, in good conscience, vote for either of the two candidates the media shoves down our throats. Hey, but that is
That,
your opinion. That's your vote, and
yeah, that is
you
your
know what?
choice, sir.
I like that though because one of the things that we're talking about the importance of voting. Obviously, me being a black man in America, I don't need to tell you how important that has been pushed upon me as I've been growing up. The people that
Sure.
were denied that right, the people that have died for that right. So yeah, absolutely, that's big in my household. But one of the things that when I first got into voting, after I learned the importance, was the two-party system and
Yeah.
how everybody. And it's almost like, I made this analogy today. It's almost like Coke and Pepsi. There's
Yeah.
always saying it's either Coke or it's either Pepsi, and I've always been the type person is like, is that it? Is that all we have?
What
If
about
I don't
Dr.
like,
Pepper?
you're right, you're right. What about Sunkiss? What about what are these other things? And
Right.
that you rarely hear about people going out and voting third party, or you rarely
Right.
and you actually get more animosity from the left or the right for people voting third party because of the
Yeah.
fact that, oh, you're taking votes away from here, you're doing this and that.
Right. Yeah.
That's what the person feels. That's their voice. Let them go make their vote.
Yeah, I mean, like we've had Reform Party, Green Party, independents. Like we've had all kind of people run, on different platforms for president and these kind of offices. And it's like, yeah, I mean, why do those people exist? Like, ask yourself that for a moment. Like, why is it not just the two-party system all the time in elections? Because other people have ideas as well, and they don't conform to either side, or they, you know what I mean? They don't particularly pick one side or the other. So they run as an independent or the Green Party or the Reform Party or whatever it is, because they have ideas too, and they're trying
Yeah.
to get them across. So I mean, yeah, there's always, that's why I said there's always options. There's always things that you can look at and see, again, what fits with you, what do you think is better for you, or whatever, and you go from there. But yeah, so Sean, I'll ask you, since you asked me, did you, my friend, get out and vote on this election?
Absolutely, definitely early voted because I was not feeling going out there waiting in any type of line or doing that. So I tried as
Yeah.
soon as I was able to. I went out there, went in, got out,
Yeah.
good to go. Felt good doing it. But it's definitely interesting because you see all the lines and everything today, and there's certain places that you see lines wrapped around the corner, but there's other places that you just go right in, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really smooth. I don't know if mine was the time in which I went, but
Could have been.
it was easy, smooth, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah,
in
I had
and
to
out.
wait in line. I had to wait in line because my early voting was not too far from my house. It was at one of the public libraries, and yeah, people were out yesterday. That is
Oh
for
yeah.
sure. People
Oh,
were
I
out,
believe it.
so
I
yeah,
believe it.
they
Now look,
totally
so
were.
I've told you the importance that was placed on me. I'm a big history guy, so obviously I've learned as so much about it from in the black community and things like that. How was it brought up to you when you were growing up? Was it a big deal? Was it just, hey, this is your duty? Like, was there any type of extra pressure put on you for it to vote?
Not that I remember so much. I think I was excited to vote. Like when you turn 18, um, it's always one of those things like everything like happens. Like it's
Mm.
like you're like my senior year of high school was when I turned 18. January of '91, I turned 18 years old,
Ooh.
and it was like, ooh, I could register to vote. I could take the ASVAB test. You sign up for selective service, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like when you turn 18, you got all that stuff to do, right? So you do all that, and you're like, oh, I'm excited. I get to vote. And I knew there was a presidential election coming up in '92. So it was like, ooh, this is going to be my first, like presidential election. It's going to be great. It's going to, I remember being excited about that fact.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, being excited that I'm 18 now. I have these rights. I can do this. I can do that. That was exciting for me. So I was more
Right.
than happy to participate in the process. I don't remember so much being, like my parents going, well, this is what you should do. I don't remember so much that, but I mean, my dad always voted. And I know that I won't deny this, that initially I definitely was, I voted, Democratic mostly in the beginning because I didn't know everything. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't really know a lot about politics, but I got caught up in all, like I said, all the hoopla and the thing, and I was like, "Ooh, this is fun!" Like this is, so early on, very early on, before I really like did my own homework and I did kind of go the Democratic route in the beginning because they seemed like the more popular party at the time with everything, like I said, with Clinton and all that. So my first election, yes, I voted for Bill Clinton. If anybody's, yeah, there you go. But yeah, so again, that's kind of what I went through.
And Ben said, I'm doing my civic duty tonight by watching this show. There you go, Ben. There you go. But
Thank
yeah,
you, Ben.
Ben,
Thank you, Ben.
Vandy Chris said he waited 45 minutes in 2020. Today he was in and out. So yeah, it's different. different wait times I've heard for a lot of different people. Yeah, no. So it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned it. But when I first started asking about it was incidentally that same time frame, the early '90s.
Yeah.
And so yeah. So I got to give you this because this is funny. My first kind of connection to Democrat Republican was the connection that I once heard through that in a correlation to when Washington went to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
So when in 72, Nixon was in a Republican,
right.
Washington went to the Super Bowl. And then all the 80s, 82, 83, and 87, and then 91, they were all Republicans. So when I first saw
Sure.
Clinton, regardless of how I might have felt about him, I was like, well, he's a Democrat. And then the Cowboys won 3 times. So I was like, oh, forget that. So that was my first connection to it before I even really understood the whole process.
Right.
But it's funny because my mom always said 2 things to me. Because I asked her once, I was like, "Who did you go for?" She said one thing. She said, "Number one, you don't talk to people on where you stand politically, because you'll
Okay.
see they start to turn once you start talking about that." And she
Yeah.
said, "Number two, I'm not going to tell you. 'Cause I don't even tell your dad who I vote for." And she just keeps it close to the vest
Yeah.
because and I don't know what in her life, maybe it has created issues or whatever, what have you. But
Yeah.
that's how it is. That's how I was always raised up. That is just that's your
Yeah.
vote, that's your voice, that's your thing. But you don't really know who goes where and which direction that you need to go. But it was never any confusion of whether or not I needed to. They always
Right.
said you have to do it. As soon as you get the chance, so many people have fought for it, just like education. You got to
Yeah.
go out and vote. But they never pressed me on who to go vote for, which
Right.
direction to go.
Right.
Not even the history, not even the history of we voted this way a certain amount. Or I think she said something to the effect of our community maybe is voted in this direction or something like that. But it wasn't ever. This is what we do. If you don't do this, you're against it, and yada yada yada. So. Ben said I voted Pedro in case you want to know. Hey, president, let's go. Serrano.
Major League Pedro Serrano.
Oh yeah.
Forget your Jobu. I do it myself.
Right. Yeah, man. So look, it's very important to do it. Whether or not you did it, that's you. But one thing I will say is I've always said, if you don't vote, then I can't really. I mean, you can still talk, do whatever you think, but don't complain to me if you didn't vote. You know what I mean? Don't complain
Yeah.
that things are one way or the other if you didn't go out there and attempt to go out and do your part. We've all been given that gift to go out and do
Yeah.
our part. If we don't exercise that gift, that's on us.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. And it's kind of a funny thing. Like, what do you think about? I was looking at because I was thinking about this the other day. Like through my lifetime, right? I was born in '73.
Mm-hmm.
So the first presidential person I remember is Jimmy Carter.
Mm.
He won in '76, lost to Reagan in '80. So like Jimmy Carter was like the first president. It was and more towards the end of his term. '79, and then the election of '80 is kind of I have vague memories. But it was like, ooh, there's an actor who's president because Ronald Reagan was an actor before he got into politics. So I was like, ooh, look, mom, there's an actor who's running for president. So I went through, basically. So for the next 12 years after that, it was Republicans because you had two terms of Reagan and then Bush Senior. So yeah, so that was an interesting thing, and it's funny because I think it was the year before I got to my high school. President Reagan actually visited the high school I ended up going to my first 2 years of high school,
Oh
which
wow.
was Gordon Technical High School. It was in the yearbook from the year before, where President Reagan had actually come to visit the school, and they gave him a jacket and the whole thing, and they got the whole shibboleth, But yeah, just the idea that a president would come to your high school and talk a little bit to everyone was kind of, oh, that's it's fascinating. Like because again, I'm not old enough to vote at this point, so I'm only going on. Like, oh, Ronald Reagan is this this movie
Exposure.
star. Now he's president. It's like, guy seems legit, right? You're like, guy seems like $1 million. Like, how could you go wrong? This is great, So yeah, so that was my first kind of foray into starting to think about things. But it was like, I couldn't vote, so I didn't. Again, I didn't. 88, I obviously didn't vote for Bush Senior because I wasn't old
Mhm.
enough or anything. So, like I said, when 92 came around, I was like, "This is it, baby! I'm excited.
Oh,
Here we
yeah.
go.
Oh,
Strap it
yeah.
in and let's go." So, yeah, that was the
I can dig
teenage
it.
into the teenage years and going into adulthood. So, a lot of fun
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
going on back then for me.
Vinny Chris says, as a kid growing up in the 70s and 80s, it was a thing to watch the election returns and debates. I have vivid memories of watching Kennedy versus Carter and the 76 debate. Okay. I can dig it. I can dig it. Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's one of the things I absolutely love. And I mean, we've seen how it's turned out these days, but the debates and actually getting an opportunity to see how these candidates can hold their own, are they going off left field? Are they actually being able sounding like a presentable candidate?
Yeah.
Vinegar says my mother holds that same line. She will not discuss who she votes for, but we can tell by the way she talks about the specific issues of who she would vote for. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Or actually,
Well,
I
again,
agree.
people, right? For people, that's what it. Some people, it's issue related, where that's where they vote. But see, that's the funny part too, is that people will talk about things, but you never know what they actually did when they go into the poll.
Mm,
Because
that's it.
again, not everybody votes a straight ticket or anything like that. You know what I mean? They're like, well, I voted this here, this here. Because I've done that before myself.
Yeah.
Because they ask you when you go in, you're like, well, are you Republican or Democrat? And I'm like, I kind of don't claim one. I vote, I don't vote straight ticket. So just whatever you consider that, that's where I'm at. Like, just let's do that. So again,
Mm-hmm.
I've done that in the past, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah. I said, Chris said, imagine that Sean Spencer does not adhere to George Carlin's theory of voting. Is that if you voted, you have no leg to stand on to complain because you put them there. Haha. You know what's funny? Nick, I know you've seen that clip, and I absolutely love it. Somebody he was on one of those I don't think it was a political show. I don't think it was Firing Line. It was one of those shows that everybody comes around and they're talking and doing all this. And there was
Yeah.
a guy on there basically saying, "Oh, it's a conspiracy, this," and they were doing that. And Carlin said, "What are you talking about? It's a conspiracy. These guys that all go to the same country clubs, grew up in the same areas, went to the same colleges, although they're on different political sides, they're still in back rooms making decisions, doing all that stuff. And to this point, yeah, absolutely. If you put your ballot in and you said, "Oh, this person, this person, this person," you put them in office. So anything negative they do, that does we have to be held up by that standard. We had to be held accountable. This is what we did. This is the direction we went, good or
Right.
bad.
Right.
This is
Well,
this is what the vote cast.
to what you just said, that's why. And again, this is just something I found funny. When Donnie won in 2016.
Donnie J.
Well, how it's funny that the people who he used to hang with and donate money to, or they donated money, you know what I mean? They went to his club, right?
Mm,
They stayed in
mm,
his hotels. You'd see them photographed. They'd have dinners and pictures together. All of a sudden, they didn't like Donnie anymore. He ran as a Republican. That upset a lot of people, right? They hated him all of a sudden. All these people who he had partied with, you know what I'm saying? They've stayed at his places, blah 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 blah. So I had to find that funny, just like because here's like you said, you guys are all in the same circles. You guys all traveled, kind of in those same circles, and now because of what Donnie did, you got mad,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, because you remember, and again, I'm only speaking to the absurdity of this, from the outside looking in, because like people were like, well, Donald Trump got elected. I'm going to move to another country. Did anybody move? No. You know what I'm saying? People were like, I'm going to do this. Did they do it? No. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm not trying to get into other things. I'm just simply saying the fact of that cracks me up that here were all these famous people who was big Donald Trump guys, right? They were always hanging with Don, taking pictures, yada, 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 whatever. Back then, he was a swell guy. After stuff started coming out and he was the president for 4 years, nobody, not such a swell guy anymore, huh, everybody? So that I do find that funny that happened, like in that sense, because you're like, what happened? He's the same guy he always was, right? But now he's on the other side of the political spectrum, so you don't like him anymore.
Oh
He's
yeah.
not your boy anymore because he
It's
did this.
special interest. It's
So
special interest.
I'm
It's
telling you,
absolutely special interest. Manny Chris said, "Did you know that Trump ran in 26? Did you know that Trump ran in 2016 because he had a 1 hour phone conversation with Bill Clinton, who told him he wished he would get more involved in Republican politics. They were actually close friends. Look, this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's like these guys say all this stuff in public and go back and forth out in front of everybody and both, whatever station, whatever media outlet, it agrees. Oh yeah, and look what they did. Look, let's take this little clip of what they did, and both sides are guilty of it.
Oh
And
yeah.
then as soon as the camera goes off, as soon as that record button goes clicked off, they're back in there talking to each other. Hey, look, I need this deal. What can you give me? This infrastructure, yada yada. Hey, boom, boom, boom. And they try to act as if, oh no, we hate them. We hate them in public. It's almost like, Nick, and I know you can appreciate it. It's almost like kayfabe. Kayfabe
Yeah.
in wrestling.
In wrestling, exactly. It's like,
Your
do
role
not
in
peek
public.
behind the curtain. Do not peek
Right.
behind here. You're
Yeah,
not going to
right.
like, you're not going to see stuff you don't. Yeah, exactly. There's a
That's
lot of that, I'm
crazy.
sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because think about it. When you see like Senate and Congress, they're all mixed, right? They're all trying to work to whatever goal it is to
Mhm.
pass whatever bill. And so, yeah, they have to work together in some aspect. Like sometimes we as people observing go, yeah, you guys aren't doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Like you've all been there going, well, that was split right down the middle. All the Republicans voted this way. All the Democrats voted that way. Like, so there's always a party line, but it is funny that to act like these people don't talk to each other or deal with each other on a regular basis. And like you said, have conversations about, well, maybe we'll give you this and we'll give you that or blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like they're all politicians. They all work together. Like they're all, this is not me trying to complain because what my station in life is the station in life I have. It's the one I've created for myself. So no, I don't begrudge anybody anything. But these are people who all have some kind of money making deals for people who don't have as much money. So where does their interest really lie at times? You question like, hey, do you really have my best interest at heart?
It is.
Because I don't think you do.
Yes.
And again, this is the system of government that we have. I choose to live in this country. I choose to abide by these country's rules as well as the perks of it.
Yep.
Right? Because if I lived somewhere else, the rules would be different.
Very different.
So, yes. That's why I accept everything that happens when people are, how can you stand for that? What would you like me to do? Like in all honesty, and again, I'm just saying, what would you like me to do? Yes, that's why I vote. I vote, like I said, that's why I participate in the process. Because like you said, at least I can say, well, I did my part. If my person doesn't win, then they don't. The next 4 years, I'll have to deal with whatever happens. If my person wins, great. Hopefully the 4 years will be good for me. Like, it's just one of those things that if you accept living in America and living in a free country and being able to do whatever you want to do, which includes speaking your mind, voting for whoever you want to, like that is your right. You can, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to accept, if you're going to accept that, you have to accept everything. That's just me. I feel like that. Like, you have to accept everything because we all live here together. We all pay taxes. We all, you know what I mean? We all
don't get ahead of yourself.
No, I'm just saying though. You know what I mean? So it's just
no,
like,
I know, but we're gonna talk about that.
I know we are, but I'm just, again, you kind of have to accept everything. It is what it is.
I think the key point that you made though is that we gotta be realistic with this. It's a group of millionaires and billionaires in the upper echelon, the elite classes that they're essentially going back and forth to vie for the love and adoration from a people that is far less money as them. All the stuff that they talk about, how struggling and taxing tips and blah 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 blah, none of them have to deal with any of that. That's what the people on the ground have to deal with. And the only way for them to keep power is to keep us at each other's throats. And that's where we have to get into what's really going on, the education of this. And to your point, like you said, the switching of the parties and how certain candidates were Democrat for X amount of years, and they went to a Republican, or they went to the Green Party or whatever. And you have a lot of these situations behind closed doors where you'll have, and you've seen this in the last couple presidential elections, where you'll have these people that go back and they get these clips from years and years ago and say, oh, look, this is what he said, this is what he said. And it's like, but you got to understand, A, people change, but B, yeah, they might have been on this side then. They might have been over here then. And if they're
Yeah.
on these different sides, that's their prerogative, whatever. But if we're trying to sit here and say this is the only way to go, when I know that they're switching sides, that's where I think we need more education. We need more conversation about
Yeah.
what's going on. And here's why I think we need it. I'm going to move on to this one. Is the political rhetoric going too far? To the point that we just made that everybody is in bed with everybody else essentially in the Congress and all that. Like they have the sides that they pick. I'm on this side, I'm on that. But when they need to get deals in and do whatever because they still want their checks to clear, then they start ramping up, especially around this time. They start ramping up the rhetoric. I don't remember a time, and again, I'm not as old as you, and I don't know anything. I'm not as old as my parents and all that. I don't remember a time where there's been more uh, vicious attacks, more just uh, anger and frustration, but also, and one of the biggest things, I don't remember a time where there's been more confusion on what's real and what's not. And it's almost like a number on both sides. People try to get you to believe what you heard
Yeah.
was not what
Well,
they really meant.
yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. No, no. If I hear you call somebody a lunatic or even on the other side, garbage or whatever, I don't care what was meant. The optics didn't look good for that. And
Right.
this is somebody that we're supposed to be choosing to be in this position in that position. And I don't think I think we're losing all that and the fact that it's becoming like our sports team. I hate you. I've always hated you. I'm never gonna like your team, whatever, whatever. So I don't have to look at you like a normal person. I can look at you and say what I want to you because if you think this way, to your point, then you obviously are nuts or you obviously blah blah blah. And it's getting
Yeah.
to the point where it was one thing when it was just between people like us, like back and forth, yada yada.
Yeah.
But now it's getting to the point where the candidates are really very open with it and very quickly ready to just spit hate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have we gotten too far? Like, has it gone too far, man?
Well, yeah, the answer is it has, and social media has a lot to do with that. Let's just call it what it is. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
AI is out now, and people are like altering videos and putting them out and going, "Oh, see what they said here, or see what this person said here," or
Yeah.
you chop up stuff and go, you put together like, and you're just sitting there going, that doesn't even look right. Again, and that's the thing, because then it makes you question, is this true or not? And you go, well, yeah, it's fact. You didn't see it here.
Right.
Okay, well, is that your reputable source? Is that all you have? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because again, here's the thing. If you're hardline one way, you're not going to come around. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to believe that that's not true anyways.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Whatever, if you're a hardline either way, you're not going to believe if you see something for the other person and go, no, that's not how I meant it. Well, yeah, it's absolutely how you meant it. I saw the clip, or I saw this, or I saw the
Right.
quote, or this and this. And it's like, yes, I understand that exists, because that's just the age we live in with the internet, with all this stuff and all the things you can do. Excuse me. That's just, those things are going to happen. And so, yes, the rhetoric has gone too far. And again, I remember back again when I was a boy, you would just see a lot of the stuff on television. You'd have the attack ads, as they call them, like, this person voted against this, and and this person voted against this. And for the most part, that's what it stayed to.
Yeah.
Nobody really cursed the other person out or called them a horrible, I'm just saying, like, or called anybody a horrible human, or you're this, you're stupid, your mama dresses you funny, whatever it is. You still had debate and you still had the two sides, but
Yeah.
man, it was nowhere near the level it's gotten to now.
No.
Where, I mean, people literally, and I think this is a big reason why there is so much hate. When you get people who are so radical for their side,
Mm-hmm.
they're not willing to hear what the other side has to say about anything.
Mm-mm.
Doesn't matter. See, this has always been my biggest thing. And this is always one thing, as I really got older, I really understood this, and this is what I really hold to myself, Sean. I don't appreciate if you're going to give me your point of view, I will listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to hammer me with what you want and you want me to respect that, but then when I turn around and give you what I view and you don't respect that, then we're not going to talk anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm going to show you the respect, you need to show it back to me. Regardless if we disagree or not, that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're gonna have me listen to you and you're gonna pitch me or whatever, and you're gonna give me your view and your side and all that, and then when I go to give you mine, you're like, yeah, no, 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 that's wrong, that's wrong. No, again, we don't. I feel like sometimes we just don't have enough respect for one another,
Right.
and we really do take these things. And again, I understand. I know people take these things seriously. People have their views, the things they care about, the things that are important to them, and I get that. I'm not trying to tell you. Again, vote with your gut. If that's what you go with, then vote with it. Like, but to me, if you want respect from a group or from people, you have to give it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of the problem I see online. Like, again, I have a Facebook page, and I'm not saying this to brag. This is not my point to this, but just to give you an example. I have 1,100 friends on Facebook. These are all people I've met throughout my life, schools I've been to, work, whatever. And if I let you read my Facebook page with all the different, I have my friends who are Republican, my friends who are Democrat. And again, not that they're going at each other, but when you see the post that they put up about this, then somebody's putting up a post about this. Then you read this. My timeline is flooded. This whole season of election season
Mm-hmm.
has been flooded. And I literally, not out of disrespect, but I'll just scroll right by because I'm not going to respond and I'm not going to get into any kind of heated discussion with either side because that to me is not productive. It's not, again, you're not going to change my mind or whatever I'm thinking, and I'm not going to change yours. And I know that by reading what you posted. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I understand where you stand. So if it is something I don't agree with, I'm not going to engage you because I'm not trying to argue about this. Do
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to debate you. I'm not trying to troll you, troll you into something or anything like that. Because again, my thing has always been, and it will continue to be as we go along in life, however long I'm on this planet. You treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know I don't, nobody's going to agree with everything I believe or say, and I'm not going to agree with everything somebody else believes or says. But that doesn't mean as a human and as a person, I can't respect you for who you are
Right.
because I
Right.
absolutely can. And again, we've all grown up differently. We all think, a lot of us, we all think differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all have different ideas about things. And so, why am I going to condemn you for who you are? That's who you are as a person.
Right.
And if you're my friend and we have a relationship, regardless of what side of the aisle you fall on, if there's a nice, healthy respect there between the two of us, we're good.
Right.
You're my friend, I'm
Right.
your friend. And that's it.
Well, and see, that's the so, and I totally agree, totally get hear what you're saying, and totally get that. Vinny Chris said I found a group in 2012 called No Label. They had a plan to make Congress work. One of the tenets of it was no negative ads against incumbent candidates, campaign on the record, not with mud. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, hey, and I'm with that, but now I take a little bit of a different approach, especially in this election. We just are so at each other's throats over this and that, and I feel exactly what you're saying, that people don't tend to want to listen. They want to talk and they want to say their piece, but they don't want to listen. I've
Right.
encountered it a lot with the other stuff we do, talking football, where people have their stance. They've read something that might be random and it might be hypothetical, but they treat it like fact, and then they start
Correct.
pushing it out and saying this, and this, and then all of a sudden you're defending, or somebody, whoever they're saying it to, is defending what hypothetical they're bringing up. Like, this could happen or this will happen if said person gets in, and yada yada yada. And you're totally missing the real truth and all of that. One of the things my dad always taught me is how editing works. He worked in media, he
Yeah.
worked in news, so he worked and showed me how they edit stuff, how they'll edit somebody's 2 3 minute interview to 10 seconds, and it might have been them, you know what I'm saying? Something,
Yeah.
and it just makes them look buffoon. It's all about the optics.
Yes.
They'll make it look like those that are being oppressed and harmed are the
Yeah.
ones doing that too. And so when we don't dive in and do the research and pay attention and figure out, okay, what's truly being said, and where are these people coming from, what do these people have to gain by saying this, saying that, then you start to understand that maybe it's not exactly what is being said, but that's the fuel, because they're angry about something else. They're,
Yes. Absolutely.
and so that's the problem that I think we have, is that we don't have the ability anymore, it seems, to have these conversations. Over the last I want to say last couple months, I've watched almost every Trump rally, and I know
Okay.
people will be like, "Oh, are you serious? What? How could you?" Blah, blah. Number one, because I believe you have to listen to each candidate so that they will, because I
Yeah.
believe they're going to tell you exactly what they're doing, and
Right.
Trump has said a lot of stuff that I think this is what he's thinking, this is what he's going to do, and Kamala has done the same. So all I have is to hold them to that. And then when you start to have the conversation and bring it up and hold people accountable, then it is very split on where people stand. If people are on the right, then, oh no, he didn't say that, or he meant this, or blah blah blah. If it's people
Yeah.
on the left, well, oh well, what she really meant, and here's the context, and blah blah blah. And it's just like, okay, well then show me. That's why, I'll talk into some of these chats and everything, and people are like, oh, you're trolling. No, am I trolling because I'm trying to find out the truth? If you're in this group and we're having a conversation, then I'm assuming, and maybe that's on me. My dad always said, you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that's what I'm doing. But I'm assuming that by you being in these groups, or being in these forums, you actually are willing to have the conversation. So if there is other people that don't know what's going on, you can educate them.
Right.
But educating them is not parroting everything you've heard over here. And in the minute somebody asks a question, then you shoot them down.
Right.
That's one of the things that I've noticed, and I can't really stand, is that, you know, I get, somebody put this to me, and I 100% agree, is that, political parties are kind of like your favorite sports team. You know what I mean? Your
Yeah.
rival is you're not going to like them, you're not going to go for them, and you'll hate X, Y, and Z on that team. But
Yeah.
if they come over to your team, if they trade over, or, but, oh man, they're the best. I've loved them for, blah blah, because things, and that's exactly how we are politically. And so then that's what it makes it so crazy when these people talk all this stuff back and forth to each other, and they say all
Yeah.
this awful stuff, hashtag
Yeah.
F your feelings and all this crap. And
Yeah.
it's like, bro, you sitting
Yeah.
here crying, you getting upset about what you think these guys are telling you, and they're sitting here saying all this in front of you to get you riled up, and then they chilling with these guys in the background because they both got
Right.
the same kind of money. So what are we even talking about? So
Right.
this
Exactly.
rhetoric to me is just, it's gotten to the place where we can't even have a civil conversation. And for me, if we can't do that, then I mean, are we lost? Because at the end of the day, whether I like what you're saying or not, whether I like you or not, we have to be able to come together and have a conversation, and get down to the truth, get down to what is really going on in these situations. And if we can't, how can we ever get ourselves out of these situations if we can't come together and actually talk about what's really going on, who's really doing what, where's the real direction of X, Y, and Z. And at the end of the day, we still might not come together. But
Right.
at least if you and I are opposing each other and we're having this conversation, even if it gets heated, if I'm not coming at you in some type of way and you're not coming at me in some type of way, then I know I don't agree with them. But tomorrow we can still go and get hoagies and a slice of pizza. We have to get to that place. And with all this rhetoric right now, it just seems like it's almost impossible to do that. And that I hate.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you at all. Again, I think we do have problems talking. I think in general, and again, you can blame whatever you want. I know everybody will be like, well, this, and that. But yeah, it does seem like we just have trouble conversating these days. Like people don't want to have serious or long conversations about things. Everything is very quick and very, what is it? If not, forget it, blah, blah, blah. This, it's like,
Mhm.
no, like, let's sit down and have an honest conversation. Like, let's take the time to understand each other a little bit. You know what I mean? Let's take the time to kind of, maybe learn a little bit about someone else and to understand why they think the way they do, or why they do the things they do, or why they, or even the way why they vote that way. Like,
Right.
what is it that, I mean, because again, all right, let's just put it this way. God willing, we all get up tomorrow, right? We're going to have a new
Mm-hmm.
president regardless, whoever it is. It's either Kamala or it's either Trump. So tomorrow when we wake up, Sean Spencer's still going to be my guy. We're still going to do football podcasts together. We're still
Mm-hmm.
going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, nothing is going to change. Now, again, I know nothing about who Sean voted for. I'm not asking him. He's not telling me, and I'm totally fine with that. Because,
Billy
again,
Bob.
that's
I
not
voted
the,
for Billy
yeah,
Bob.
Billy Bob Thornton. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, Billy Bob. Oh, Varsity Blues. No, I'm kidding.
Anybody, look, Billy Bob. Anybody that can get and do a sex scene with Halle Berry. Good God.
Well, sure. Well,
Low rat.
that just made me jealous of Billy Bob. That's
All
all. But
right.
anyway, anywho, right. Another story for another time, Halle Berry.
Right.
But no, yeah. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what happens tonight, Sean and I are good when tomorrow comes, because
Right.
Sean and I have a friendship and we have a mutual respect for each other. And Sean and I, again, for those of you, we always joke with each other, but Sean and I have had serious conversations, and Sean and I
Mm-hmm.
have not agreed on things at times.
We disagree. Yes.
He's got one idea about one way, and I'm like, I don't know, I really don't feel that way, or I don't think that way. But
The
the
reason why
fact
Nick
is,
is called "I Want the Smoke" is not because he likes to smoke. It's
right?
it's it's
Yeah,
fire that comes out.
yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, yeah. No matter what, tomorrow Sean and I will go on. Our lives will go on. We'll do what we do. And again, I'll go on respecting him. He'll go on respecting me, and we'll deal with whoever the president is for the next 4 years, right? Because see,
Absolutely right.
that's the other thing too. Once the election's over, guys, that's it. So
Yeah.
for the next 4 years, we get who we get. Whatever happens, you still have to go live your life. You still have to do your thing, and I have to still go do mine.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I going to waste my energy, time, and all that hating on somebody else or hating on a group because they voted this way and I voted the other way? When at the same time, tomorrow, when we all get up, guess what? We go back to our lives and go
Mm-hmm.
back to doing the things we were doing today before the selection results were in. So that's
Absolutely.
my thing, man. Life is life. I'm going to keep living. I'm going to do the best I can to, take care of my business, love my friends, love my family, all that. And even if my candidate doesn't win tonight, it's still the same thing I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, yes, things may change a little bit in the grand scheme of things, but for the most part, my life goes on the way it was today, tomorrow, day after that. So,
Mm-hmm. Just
to
like
me,
just like
that's
Randy Chris. That's it, Nicholas. We're gonna talk ball, my brother, regardless of who wins tonight. Absolutely.
exactly
But to this
100%. So,
point, I love this because I'm super proud of Tim Walz and JD Vance. Their debate was civil discourse. It's supposed to look like, yeah, they want the same thing. They simply have different ways to get to the end result. Absolutely.
well,
And what we saw
because,
at the end of that debate, where they came together and they were shaking hands and their wives shook hands, that to me, if I could have sat there and tried to go back and forth and voted on that, I would have loved either one. I'm like, okay, I can do this because that's what I'm used to, where it's a more civil debate. Even if you don't like
yeah,
me or I don't like you, we're not gonna sit
yeah,
here up there and cuss and putting people out and yada yada yada. So I totally agree with that. And look, I mean, you perfect segue. You went right into it. Tomorrow, we all got to go to work. We all got to, we still got to deal with stuff with football, and we still got to get up and wonder what we're gonna have for breakfast and what we're gonna eat. Like, you know what I mean? All that stuff will still be there. I
yeah,
don't, I don't think we'll get the full answer tomorrow on who actually won. But what we mean by this is that even after all of this craziness is over and the back and forth and the X, Y, and Z, we still have to figure out a way, no matter how much it seems that we're divided, we still have to figure out a way to come back together.
yeah,
And we were able to do it
100%.
somewhat last time. Over the last 4 years, it's been rough. It's gotten rougher over the last couple elections. But at this particular point, we truly have got to, and I don't know if it's just the fact we got to open up this conversation. Just we truly have got to get to a place where we can have this conversation and still be able to talk and not have it turn into taking personal shots or
Yeah,
coming after people personally, or even holding it against somebody who and what they vote, why they voted for where they voted and whatever. Like, and I guess that's one of the reasons why mom's always told me never to really disclose who I'm voting for, even though I have not always followed that, because when you're in a certain camp and you have people that are in the same camp, oh, okay, we like the same. All right, cool. You know what I mean? But
Right. Oh yeah, sure. Like I said, I've discussed before with other people who I voted for, but pretty much in the last probably 4 elections for president, I haven't said a word about who I voted for. Because again, I felt like as I got older, I was judged more for that in some circles. Like, you're like, "Oh, who did you vote for?" "Oh, I voted for
mhm,
"Really? Why'd you do, oh, what, so and again, it's interesting because at a very small level, and I'm not going to get too much into this, just to but there was a time probably about, man, about 23 years ago, 23, 24 years ago now, where I briefly got a small taste of what the Chicago political landscape was like.
hmm,
I had a family member who was running for alderman, and I was involved in helping her with her campaign, and unfortunately got pulled into a situation I wasn't happy with, but nonetheless I got pulled into it. And I got a little taste of that, of how this works, how the system works, how people can get on ballots, this sort of thing. And it really opened my eyes a little bit more to the process of it and how this stuff actually works and how things are done. And
mhm,
again, this was a local level. This was just an aldermanic race here in Chicago. But when you look at the grander scale, you're like, okay, this probably happens the same in presidential things, just on a bigger scale because it's the whole country instead of just this one ward in Chicago.
right,
But the theme and everything is the same. And so that
mhm,
really opened my eyes to a lot of this. And it was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I don't, not because I don't trust people, but because if I'm just simply trying to get through life without having to add this extra stuff of not liking someone because of who they voted for or what side of the fence they sit on or all that other goofy stuff. Because at the end of the day, my life goes on, your life goes on. I mean, again, look at how contentious the last few elections have been. But hey, guys, that last 8 years is over now.
mhm,
And we've all survived. We're all here, still chugging along, right? Still living life, still going to work, paying our bills, buying our groceries, yada, yada, yada. Again, whatever you feel about all that, it's still, we're all here. We're all
mhm,
surviving. We're all doing the best we can because at the end of the day, that's all we can do. You know what I mean? Like, again, whether your person's in office or not, you deal with whoever is in office and whatever laws they try to pass or whatever things they try to do, whatever it's a cut or a this or more money for this, less money for that, whatever, you still have to go on with your life. You still have to do
mhm,
the things that you did every day before that happened. And like I said, the last two, you know, elections were hotly contested, right? And yet somehow here we all are 8 years later surviving.
mhm,
Still, again, whatever you feel, the fact is we're all still here. We're doing what we can. We do the best we can. We live in a free country, so you're going to have people who aren't going to agree. Everybody's got their free will. You're free to do pretty much whatever you want. Nothing illegal, of course. But yeah, you have the freedom, guys, and you also have the freedom to just, like I said, give respect, get respect. You know, we're all here, man. We're all here together. We're all struggling a lot with the same things. And we all just want a better life for ourselves or for our children or for our families and all that stuff. That's why we're here, man. That's why
mhm.
people, again, whatever your feeling is about certain things, man, it's like we all came here from somewhere, right? None of us were really born here, uh, in America in that sense. Like the country was founded, right? How many years ago?
I was born in
Whatever
Virginia, so
I'm saying, whatever your belief is in that. Well, yeah, funny boy, I know. But yeah, you
yeah,
were
I'm
born
just
in one of the 13 original colonies. Colonies, congratulations. But I'm just saying, like, what my point is, we've all come from somewhere. Our families have come from somewhere, and now we're all here together, man. Like, let's do the best we can with everything we have. Let's get through life, man. Let's just, and
which
I mean,
which I love, which I love. I love the peace and the love, but realistically.
I know.
When we
No, I
get up
know, but I'm just
tomorrow
saying.
and we see
Yeah.
those guys that we've seen on our timeline for weeks and weeks and weeks, how do we? And this is I want this to be for anybody that's listening or anybody that might hear this later. How can we reopen that conversation of to that person that we may have stopped talking to? I had somebody tell me today they've cut X, Y, and Z, they've cut a number of people off, lifelong friends, because of the things that they've heard and the things
Yeah.
that they're saying and they believe in. And I'm just like, I get that. I've had people that have pushed me to that point, but there's also a part of me that's like, this is gonna pass. To your point, we're all gonna wake up. We're all gonna be still have the same worries, same concerns. There's not if one person gets in over another, in my opinion, it's not going to make such drastic impact on my life. Now, unfortunately, some of the things that are on the ballot have to do with females, and I'm a man, so obviously that doesn't directly affect me and things of that nature. So I don't want to come across like I am uh deaf to those issues,
Right.
or I'm,
Yeah.
overlooking them or anything like that. But to your point, that one of the things that I know we have to be concerned with, one side, regardless, one side is going to be hot. They are going to be ticked off, and another side is going to be overjoyed. How do we get it to the point where we don't have one side gloating like this is they just won the Super Bowl? And because the other side, and who knows what's going to happen, who's going to win, but there is a side that is already talking about, hey, this might not be, it might be messed up again, it might be, and it's kind of like, if you are at a place where you have this belief because you've been told this is what it
Yeah.
is, how then can we come and get back on common ground? If you seriously think, and this is the way we got to look at it, because we got to put ourselves in those people's shoes, where it's like, if you truly feel like this is happening, I can kind of understand why you'd be upset about it. But how do we get these people to understand that either A, it's not happening, or you know we got to be able to come back and talk? How do we get people to come back to the table and have a conversation and actually come to the realization that whatever this country is supposed to be greater
Right.
than all
Yeah.
of these? How do we come together as a country that's lasted and has been so dominant and has been such a great source of opportunity for people? How do we come together tomorrow when we know either one side or the other has lost? Like, what? How do we come together?
That's a phenomenal question. I don't know that I have the answer because, again, it starts, like you said, with a conversation. But to get the two people, the two sides, as it were, to come together and go, "Hey, why do we not like each other? Like, why
Mhm,
is this an issue? Why do we not, you know what I mean? Like, why do I not like your thing, or why do you not like my thing? Like, why is this happening?" And again, I I don't want to get into the whole, like, divisive thing in a sense. Like, I get, yes, there's two sides, whatever, these people don't like these people, whatever it is. But I mean, we as people, like you said, Sean, it boils down to having the conversation. Now, I
mhm,
wish I had the magic answer to go, "Hey guys, this is all you need to do and we can get ourselves back on track." But I think one thing that I kind of like would like, I guess, maybe like people to understand is, I'm not trying to put it as this it's us against them thing, but we're all kind of in this together. Like you said, like, we are governed by people who don't live the, and again, I'm not, whatever the reason they got into politics, whatever it was, they're in it. Like, we've elected these people. That's the other thing too. Like, us pretending like we have nothing to do with this in some sense. Like, again, not in the because again, you vote who you vote for,
mhm,
but then they go into office and they're supposed to be there to govern us and to help us. And sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. And are we ready to have that conversation? Like, where does the responsibility lie if
mhm.
something doesn't go right, or if something doesn't go the way we thought? And I think that's why a lot of people do stay on the sides that they're on, because it's easier to point the finger and go, "Well, your person didn't do this."
Right.
And then if it's the other side, they go, well, look at what we did. Did your people do that when they were in office? No. Did you guys do? No. And so there's always going to be, unfortunately, that divide, I think, because of that, because it's so much easier to just point a finger than to really find out why something happened or why it didn't go the way it was supposed to or why something didn't happen. It's so much easier to just go, see what I told you? I told you that guy, person was no good. They didn't do this.
Right.
Bam. You know what I mean? And that's it. And then you're done. Because you're not, again, that's when the conversation stops. When actually that's when the conversation should be beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think you hit the nail on the head, because that a lot of times, and I've seen this a lot, where you'll get on one side something said, and there's a little bit of truth surrounded by a whole bunch of BS.
Yeah.
And the people will find the truth, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, so everything must be true and X, Y, and Z. And you're totally overlooking the fact of what that could mean for the people around you.
Yeah.
And so now we're in a place where you've been spitting this hatred, vitriol, just da 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 da, my party, this, and you're blah blah blah. And what I think we overlook is the fact that, like you said, tomorrow's gonna come. You know what I mean? Tomorrow, I mean, these things are going to come back around, and we have to be able to come back to the table and have a conversation, because at the end of the day, you're not rich, I'm not rich. You know what I mean? We gotta we're struggling to make it happen day to day. You know what I mean? And we have to be able to come together, really do that true research, put ourselves behind, not try to put it's me. We got to really be thinking of how will this help us as a
Right.
community, us coming together, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's us. It's got to be us. US, United States,
Yeah.
us. I mean, we have to find some way to come together, because at the end of the day, the politicians, presidents, the Congress, all those people, they're going to get paid, and they're going to have their jobs, and they're going to be able to do whatever they want to do. And the same nonsense you're probably dealing with today, it might get a little better here and a little worse here, or a little better there, a little worse there, whatever. But at the end of the day, we as people have to come back together.
Right.
And I can't. I don't know if I don't know. I'm not. I can't say it anymore. I can't say it eloquently or really kind of get across what I'm really trying to say, other than we just got to come together. Like it kills me that we're at this place. But then I look at the past, and I look at where we've been in this country, and where else would you rather be? I still want to be here. I still love this country. I just feel like we've gotten to this place where it's a I mean, I said it was politics, but I also said kayfabe. I almost think it's kind of like we've gotten to this place where it's like the WWE, where, you know what I mean? Like the crowd will go crazy for one person, and then might totally boo the other. But then in another town, another area, this person's the one they love, and then that person's the one they hate. And it's remarkable to kind of see, and you'll see it at certain like rallies and stuff. They'll have the chants, and you're like, is this WWE? Is this Monday Night Raw? What am I watching? You know, are these candidates? You know what I mean? So it's crazy to think that this is where we're at. But you know, unfortunately we're here. So we need to be part of the change. We need to be a part of helping to come together to bring this country back, because it's fractured right now, and I hate to see it. Nick, what are you seeing any? I know we already had, I think, 3 states that were cold. What did you see?
I was looking up at the television because they threw something up on the TV. As far as votes right now, Trump is ahead according to the 23% of states reporting. Trump was up as of right now in terms of overall votes, but that was only about 23%. They said polling. You know, the 23% counted right now. And again, you know, some states you kind of know because, again, some states are Republican, some states are straight Democrat, and it's always what they call the swing states that kind of usually decide elections. The states that are half and half or whatever. And it's like, it's funny because if you think about Illinois, just because I live in Illinois, the state itself is generally red state. It's generally
Hmm.
Republican. But because Chicago is such a Democratic city, 99.9% of the time, a Democrat is always elected here in Chicago because of Chicago. It's
Hmm.
like Chicago is one of the
Mhm.
most democratic cities in the world. So it's just funny that one city of 4 million people, whatever it is, can really dictate an entire state, the rest of the state, in terms of how things go. So it is kind of funny to see that sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Because Chicago's all the way up here, that one little corner of Illinois, and the rest. You see the map, and like the rest of the
All
state is
red.
all red. You got that one little blue section, but that one little blue section counts for so much. So
Yeah.
to me, that's just a funny thing to see.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Hey, real quick before we go, I'm going to ask this, and I think we've already addressed it. Do we need more education when it comes to voting in the election process? I think we definitely do, because a lot of people, I can speak for myself, that it wasn't until Obama was elected in 2008 when I really started to understand that voting for the president is great, but if you don't vote for the Congress and the House, the Senate, and the mayors and all that stuff,
Yeah,
the power it might it be limited at times, and even they obviously have the executive orders and whatnot, but for the most part, a lot of bills and things that might be trying to get pushed through might be stopped. And so a lot of times when people look at that, then they're like, oh, well, he didn't get this done and he didn't get that done. But people won't have the understanding of the voting process and of the political world to understand that, well, of course he couldn't get that done because, the Congress in the House and Senate or whatever was on the other side. So they vowed never to let anything that he was trying to get done push that through.
yeah,
And it's crazy because that's where a lot of the misinformation comes in, because a lot of it is not necessarily a lie. A
right,
lot of it is just that you're not telling the full truth.
right.
You know what I mean? That's where I said there's some things where you say, "Oh yeah, this is what was said," but you don't understand the context and what in which and when is said. And then also, how do these things work? How does the House and the Senate work, and Congress, and what does it mean for to get a bill passed through this and the certain votes, and what's the House majority leader and minority leader, and you talked about aldermans and governors, mayors, all like what are these things? And there's a lot of people, surprisingly, there's a lot of people that have no clue about any of those things. So when you come to these times, they're just like, I'm voting for this person. I remember the
Yeah.
first time I voted, I knew the president, my presidential choice, but a lot of the other candidates and stuff, I didn't know any of that
You
stuff.
didn't, right? You didn't know
And
any.
it was
Yeah,
so it was just like, I guess circle here, circle. I didn't know because I wasn't aware. I didn't at that time. I wasn't educating myself on anything other than the president.
right,
That's where I thought all the power. That's where I thought it was. But
right.
that's what I think we need more of. What are your thoughts on education, not only in school but also for
The
adults in our age range?
Well, that's the thing too. Like, given the age we live in, that information is all available if people are willing to look for it. And
Hmm.
so it's the theory, I think, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink,
Hmm.
because all that information is available to you.
But
If
now
you
let
want,
me ask you this too. What if
yeah.
How do we get through what's been the pandemic of misinformation now? Because
Right,
a
but
lot of people look online and look for certain places, and then it's like, oh, look, I read this. This is it. And it's like, did you look at who the source was?
well, I'm talking about more about finding out like how laws work, how that like
Oh,
that
oh
stuff
yeah,
is set in stone. And
yeah,
again, we took some of that in school. You have a constitution test in 8th grade usually, or at least you did back in my day. I actually took a
yeah.
government class when I was in college just to get a little bit more familiar with, 2/3 majorities and what is this, what is that. Like, so I learned a little bit more too taking government in college
Mhm,
as an elective class. And it was fine. It was cool, like to kind of learn some of that stuff just to understand. Like, again, I'm not going to remember everything, and I'm probably not going to, I'll have to go back and look at something myself if I have a question about something. But I'm just saying that the information in that sense is out there. If you want to know about why there's 435 representatives in the House, and
mhm.
two senators from every state in the Senate, and that sort of stuff, that information is totally available to you,
Right.
and that none of that is bogged down with theory or opinion. That stuff is just straight fact, and that information is out there. to educate yourself more on how the process works and that sort of thing. Yes, you're always going to probably run into, if you're looking for a specific candidate, you're going to find probably the good and the bad, because let's be honest, a lot of times, right? There's been good things and there has been bad things.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, people are human, they make mistakes, things happen. So you're going to have, yes, some people will say, well, this person's more egregious than this person, or this is that, and maybe that's all true. But the fact of the matter is, information is available if you want to find it out, and then you have to be able to discern for yourself. And this is why I say
The other
everybody
side.
has a way they feel about things, and everybody has a way that they think and that they process stuff, that at least if you take all the information in and you make the choice based on what you feel is best for you or what speaks to you or that sort of thing, then hey, that's what you do. Like,
Yeah.
because again, it speaks to everybody differently. But yeah, I mean, I do think more education would help, knowing what the voting process is. And again,
Mm-hmm.
I've worked as an election judge for elections where I've
Mm-hmm.
registered people to vote, and people have come in and I'm like, okay, here's your ballot, sir, or ma'am, or blah, blah, blah. Here's this and this and this. So I've been there I don't say in the trenches, but I've been in there when people have had questions about voting and how do I do this and how do I do that. And, so I've been through some of that. So I've seen it, I've seen the process work, and I've seen, those types of things. And it's just, I just think it's important. Again, I would probably leave everybody with this. And again, whatever you decide to do, and even if you decide not to vote, again, that is your right. I'm never going to question you on that, make
Too
you feel
late
bad
now.
about that. Well, I'm just saying, I'm never going to make you feel bad about that. Whatever you decide to do for you is for you. But always, like, again, always remember this. At the end of the day, I respect you. You respect me. Let it, let us do our thing. We're all here to live our lives and to just, for me, just be a decent human, and to, take care of what I need to take care of. And at this point in my life, that's exactly what I do. So again,
Makes sense.
I appreciate everyone. I do. Again, there's the information is out there. If you want to know anything, you can find it. Especially in this day and age, with how quick we can get information, it's a little bit easier to pick up on some stuff. So again, but please, guys, like I said, we're all going to wake up tomorrow, good Lord willing, and we're all going to go about our days regardless of who was elected president. So keep that
Yeah.
in mind. Let's just try to help each other out and do the best we can.
Yeah. I echo that. But for me, I definitely feel like, and I don't want to force the issue, but we do have to. I think we do have to have the conversation, and I do think we do need to put in the time, and I do want people to be wary about, when we go look for these things, and when we do try to do the research,
Yeah.
we got to make sure that we keep our bias out of it, because it's easy for anybody. Nobody's immune to that. It's easy for anybody to include their bias when they're looking for something, and that's why I said, check when you're looking on social media for whatever thing, because as we know, that algorithm normally leads us down the direction of the things that it's learned from, where we choose what we like, what direction we're going in.
Right. Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
don't be surprised if been liking and agreeing with X, Y, and Z if you don't start getting certain posts and certain you know things being put out there in your wheelhouse. And that's something that I think we need to figure out, because there's a lot of times where people will have a whole rant and a whole anger and a whole big frustration about things that might not be true.
Right.
I mean, I know we've all heard certain, accusations and things that have been made in certain parts of the country, where it was completely checked, it was completely fact checked, and it found out it wasn't true. But there's so many people that are now not only going and being going after certain areas, but then also a certain group, and it's kind of like, if you just went outside of yourself and looked, and you realize that this is not what it is, and only thing it really is that people need something to run on. That's the other problem with a lot of this, and I think this is what we have to learn. is that when it comes to voting, when it comes to the elections, and when it comes to things like that, there's certain stances from certain parties. Obviously, the right is big on pro-life, and then the left is pro-choice, and they're really staunch over here and they're over there. The right is big military. The left is for helping the less
Right.
fortunate. So you have these things that people stick with, they stay with, and they're going to go in those directions regardless. And I think even with that, we need to truly understand what it is we are voting for, and what are we voting against. What is the real issues? Is it just these major issues that come up every 4 years?
Right.
You know what I mean? I think one of the
Yeah.
things that I was really frustrated with was a lot of the
Excuse me.
conversation around FEMA and the hurricane, or the storm, the Helena,
Yeah.
that whole devastation and everything, and both of them are going back and forth. Oh, they didn't send anything, and they sent all this stuff, and it's like, I don't care who did what, just get there.
Yeah.
You know what I
Just
mean?
help out, man. Like, it's not about
Help.
the political
Don't
parties at this point, right?
exactly. Don't
It's
make
about
this a
helping.
talking point, and that is one of the things that reason why I think we need to understand the voting and election process, because then you also you look into the history of it, and you look into how candidates and people use certain things. The law and order party,
Yeah.
that we need to
Yeah.
help the little man, we need to, big business, small business, all these little things, and we start to see that they're using these as talking points.
Right.
But if you're actually looking at the process and how they've tended to vote, or how this and that, it might not be in the direction that you think it's in. And even
Right.
though somebody's saying blah 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 up here, they might be over here voting something else. And
Right.
we're not we're none the wiser, because we just think this is what he said, this is what she said, then we just got to follow that. And
Right.
that is something that I think we need. If you understand the process, and you understand the history, and you understand what leans what direction, where do these people start, then you'll
Right.
start to get, okay, how did we get here? How did
Right.
we come to this place? Why are they upset about this? Why are they feeling a certain type of way about this? And I think that the education is going to help people to get out of the situation where there's just like, oh, how could you, because you believe this, and how could you support it, and blah blah blah. Well, let's figure out how this whole process works, and then you'll realize that a lot of times this is what they might say, but it's not necessarily what they might do, or this is how
Right.
the stance they might have. But then they
Right.
might all come over here and just say, okay, well, we won on it, but that's not necessarily
Right.
the issue. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So
Yes.
education in the election process is huge, huge in my opinion.
It is. No, you are correct. You are very correct, sir. That is very true.
So, so that, look, at the end of the day, like that, it's we're gonna be here tomorrow. At the end of the day, truth be told, the
Haha.
election will come, the election will go,
Yes.
and you know, we still got to eat, sleep, make money, find love, whatever it is. We still have to do all of that stuff, because nothing else really changes, you know? And
Yeah.
and mind you, there, and I'm not, so I want you to hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying that by this person getting in or that person getting in, their policy and things won't change things. No.
Right.
We
Right.
know how things work, and how if this person
Right.
goes in, okay, this and this. We
Right.
understand that. But what I'm saying, as far as you and I, we won't change. We
No.
might feel some type of way depending on
Right.
who we voted for, but
Right.
as far as the things that you have to do,
We're
then
gonna stay the same. We're gonna keep
oh,
doing what we're doing, right? To live and to just
so we got to be real with it. We
handle
got to
our
be honest.
business, as it were, right? Handle your
Yeah.
business.
So look, we're gonna go ahead and let you go. Obviously, a lot of the polls are starting to close up now. I know
Yeah.
8 o'clock is when a lot of them close around here,
Yeah.
and it's 9, so I'm gonna get back onto that and take a look at that type of stuff. Um, but yeah, no, Nick, anything else, man?
No, again, guys, like I said, whatever you did, I hope you all have a great night. And again, no matter who wins, we're all here together, baby. Let's do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, people, that's my guy Nicholas Rosario. It's your boy Sean Spencer, and this has been Truth Be Told. Shout out to my guy Anton Benson, Awesome Artisans. Check this out.
Are you good with this? Are you excited about this?
Absolutely. I will talk about anything. Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Truth Be Told.